Hi everyone. I'm going to talk about the EU's so-called trade agreements. I've been looking at these trade agreements for quite a few years and I'm working to expose them and to resist them. So international trade agreements are where the agenda of transnational corporations becomes fixed at the international treaty level. And that's intended to be irreversible, regardless of whatever governments come in the future. I'll explain first that when developing countries blocked the corporate-driven agenda of the EU and the US in the World Trade Organization Doha round, which the WTO structures allow for that, then the EU, when Peter Mandelson was the EU Trade Commissioner, the EU shifted to bilateral and regional trade deals. And the essential difference there is that these deals are secret until they're completed. So those on whose behalf these deals are supposedly being negotiated are not allowed to know what is being negotiated, and that's us. Within the Trade Commission, within the Commission of the European Union, it's the Trade Commission that is the heavyweight part, and the rest of it is subservient to that. Although that's not being recognised anywhere in the referendum debate. The Trade Commission is then heavily lobbied by big business. A major voice in EU trade policy is the transnational financial services that make up the City of London. So the city is not British or London in any sense, it is transnational financial services and a major push in the EU and for the trade agreements. The American Chamber of Commerce is also a major voice in Brussels and Brussels trade policy. So the current so-called trade deals are the US-EU Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTiP, which is in parallel to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. There's also the backdoor to TTiP, the Canada-EU Trade Agreement, CETA, which is well advanced in its processes. And in the background, there is the catch-all Trade in Services Agreement, TISA, which is also well advanced. These agreements go way beyond anything you could call trade, and way beyond even the standard corporate benefit trade in services provision, which already gives rights to corporations and limits the ability of states to control corporations. And this is something that many governments, like ours, are more than happy to be tied into. But these new generation trade deals, the ones I went through, go much further than this. They're about overall deregulation. So getting rid of protections in order to increase corporate profits. Getting rid of the protections that have been developed and fought for. Generally protections from corporations. And this deregulation agenda is going on at the UK level, at the EU level, and at the trade agreement level. These agreements will allow transnational corporations to be involved in assessing new and existing laws on the basis of how corporate-friendly they are, with the power for corporations to object to and to rewrite laws. And further, these deals also allow transnational corporations to sue governments for any laws that limit their expected profits. Thus, in these deals, the whole of democratic lawmaking is being handed to transnational corporations. In the UK, there's been a high concern of the effect of trade deals on the National Health Service. Recent Greenpeace leaks, this is where we get our information from, leaks. recent Greenpeace leaks show that the NHS and other public services will indeed be included and exposed under these deals, despite the official assurances we're getting to the contrary. They will certainly be exposed to the threat of investor-state dispute settlement. That's the mechanism for corporations to sue governments. So, for instance, being sued for reversals of privatisations. That's enough to put governments off such action, especially those who want to be put off anyway. The negotiations for the Canada-EU agreement, the CETA, are completed and due to go through the EU processes in the next few months. So now, with some rumblings of resistance in some member states, so for instance, the Walloon, the French-speaking Belgian parliament, the Walloon subnational parliament has voted against CETA, and others are demanding more scrutiny of what's going on. So with that going on, it's now being fixed that CETA will be Commission-only competency. So that means that member state parliaments will have no say whatsoever, which they can do under EU rules. If it was to be mixed competency between the Commission and the member state parliaments, the Commission is able to provisionally implement the agreement before it ever goes to member state parliaments anyway. So much for EU democracy. As we head towards effectively a corporate-run world, and that's what we are essentially up against, the EU really is a mechanism for transnational corporate power to achieve the sort of structures that they want. If we vote to leave the EU, we will be out of CETA and TTiP at that point. There will be enormous pressure for the UK to join comparable deals, even to join the TTiP separately. The agreement allows for that, and we'll have to resist that. But if a corporate agenda is being pursued and we're resisting it, it will not be, under those circumstances, if we're out of the EU, it will not be in the fog and the secrecy of the EU. Thanks.